Random thoughts. In this video, I'm going to read part of Douglas Jardine's book, The Mad Mullah of Somaliland. This is a book that was published in early 1920s, and it's a book about Mohammed Abdulle Hassan, or the Mad Mullah as the British liked to call him. Now, Mohammed Abdulle Hassan is the person who started what came to be known, or started and ran what came to be known as the Dervish Wars. And these are wars that were carried on against the British in Somaliland between, you can say, 1900s up to 1920s. Some of that went on for a very long time. Now, Douglas Jardine was what was known as the Secretary to the Administration Somaliland 1916 to 1921. He was, you can say, maybe number 2, number 3 in the colonial administration in Somaliland. So he did participate in many of the campaigns that were launched by the British against Mohammed Abdulle Hassan. In the last video, I talked about, or I read a part where, or parts where Douglas Jardine describes the early relationship between the British colonial government and Mohammed Abdulle Hassan, and how the British initially thought that he was not a threat. Maybe he was somebody to ignore, but then at some point they realized that the local people in Dolbahanta land especially had a lot of respect for Mohammed Abdulle Hassan, and also other people around Dolbahanta land had started listening to him, and he started becoming, we can say, a judge, someone who people would go to have dispute resolved. And in fact, he became very successful in minimizing raids and fights between different groups of people. And the British recognized that, and they thought he was an asset. And in fact, they started having conversation with him, correspondences, and discussing, and of course, sharing ideas. And sometimes he will arrest people and send them to Berbera to be jailed. But then he started doing the justice system himself on the land, and people liked it. The British did not see it as a problem. He was still an asset. They would rely on him to keep peace. But then things changed. And in this video, I'm going to read a part where Douglas Jardine describes for us the moment things changed in the relationship between Mohammed Abdulle Hassan and the British. And this is what he says. As has already been stated, the Vice-Consular Court at Berbera was in constant communication with the Mullah, and as time went on, the tone of the latter's epistles became increasingly truculent. So they were communicating through letters between the Vice-Consular's office in Berbera and Mohammed Abdulle Hassan. And at some point, the tone of the message between the communication kind of like started to change. It became strenuous, it became not very friendly. And seems like this happened progressively, like it started slow here and there, but then it became more and more aggressive. And he continued to say, on the 23rd March 1899, the Vice Consul sent a note to the Mullah about a trivial matter. Now, there is this matter which Douglas Jardine calls like it was a trivial matter. It wasn't supposed to be a major issue. He continued to say, a certain Hussein had stolen a rifle and was thought to have taken it to the Mullah. So there's this guy by the name Hussein, and there were reports that he had stolen a gun. Now, Douglas Jardine does not tell us from whom this gun was stolen. And now, this Hussein guy takes this gun to Mohammed Abdulle Hassan. Now, he calls him the Mullah at this point. The Vice Consul will be obliged if the rifle will be returned. So the request of the Vice Consul was that this rifle should be returned, which implies that the rifle was stolen from somebody who worked for the colonial government. It seems like that's what happened. The Mullah replied on the back of the Vice Consul's letter, which he had colored red, and to emphasize his message, he wrote it out twice, first in large and then in small Arabic characters. So Mohammed Abdulle Hassan responds to this request in a way that was not expected. And he writes, either he writes in red or he paints the note red, but there is red there, which means there is like a warning or something of sorts. And he writes the message twice. The first is larger and the other one is smaller, but both are written in Arabic. And Douglas Jardine does actually provide an image of the original message, and I'm going to attach it on the screen so you can see it. This is what the message said. What the message says. So the note read, there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. Not have I stolen from you or from any other. So he tells them, I've not stolen from you and I've not stolen from anybody else. Seek what you want from him who robbed you. So go find the person who stole from you and deal with them. Serve him whom you have chosen to serve. These and salams, of course, that is a salutation. And then it is sealed or signed Mohammed bin Abdullah. That's a translation. Now there is that, of course, the original, not written in Arabic. Maybe the translation is exactly that, or maybe there are nuances that are different. I can't tell because I can't read Arabic. So yeah, so it is at this point that things change. This note or this letter is the one that changed things in the relationship between Mohammed Abdulle Hassan and the British, and it was about a gun that was lost. Now we can't tell what this gun was about. We can't tell whether this Hussein guy stole it by just himself, or whether he even stole a gun. We don't know whether actually there is a gun that was stolen, and we can't tell if he stole. Was it him just doing it by himself? Was he sent to steal the gun? Those are details we don't have. Or Douglas Jardine does not give us. He just says that this Hussein guy stole, and then Mohammed Abdulle Hassan was requested to have the firearm returned, and instead of having it returned, he decides to write this note. Now, again, when you read that note and you think it's likely Mohammed Abdulle Hassan was genuine, maybe not. Maybe he was actually genuine, that I don't know what you're talking about. There's that possibility. But there is also a possibility that he actually knew what was happening and he had planned it all along. That maybe that's what happened. But there is also a possibility that he actually did not know what they were talking about. So it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell what was actually happening. Those are my random thoughts.